drummer in Zepparella. Welcome to the Zepparella Learning Channel. This is my three-part series on how to play Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, a powerhouse and a song that exemplifies everything heavy and powerful about Led Zeppelin.
We come from the land of the ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs glow. Soft to feel so green, whisper tales of gold.
In this video, the first video, I'm going to be talking about playing the album version of the song. This song appeared on Led Zeppelin 3, and I'm going to take you all the way through the groove, all the way through the song. And in the second video, I'm going to talk about the groove again, but I'm going to talk about what I've learned about playing it live on stage for the last 15 years, what I've learned from listening to live Zeppelin, and some of the little flourishes, the little additions that I hear Bonham doing to make it rumble even more, to add some big sonic space when you're playing live. And in the third video, I'm going to talk about the improvisation section. Now, on the album version, there is no improvisation section, but in many live versions, Zeppelin kind of stretched out in the middle, and Jimmy Page took a solo. And in Zepparella's version, I take a bit of a solo as well. So I'm going to talk about what it's like to come up with a drum solo in a song that necessarily doesn't usually exist. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get started. The groove of Immigrant Song, which travels throughout the entire song, goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. The most important thing about this groove, of course, is the 1 and also the 3. Those are played on the bass drum, and those add to the heavy, settled feel of the song. Now, the 16th note, the last 16th note that leads into those, the last 16th note of the 4 and the last 16th note of the 2, those are played on the snare drum. And that connection between the snare drum and the bass drum is really important in this. And it adds to the swing. It adds to, when I'm thinking of this song, it feels almost kind of like it's rolling, like rolling bands of people coming to take over stuff. So there's a rolling feeling that the snare drum gives to the bass drum. And there's a couple ways to practice this. So the first thing I would do if you're brand new to drumming is I would leave out that extra 16th note and just play the very basic beat, which is this. So once you kind of get that underneath your feet, you get those double hits on the bass drum, then you can start goofing around with adding in that 16th note on the snare drum. And if that seems a little bit difficult, you can even just break it down to just that 16th note and leading the bass drum. So I'm just going to play the hi-hat, 8 notes on the hi-hat like this. And then I'm going to try to add that into the whole beat. So notice that you're going along with the hi-hat on the 8th note, and the hi-hat's going to hit, the snare drum's going to hit, and then the bass drum and the hi-hat are going to hit together. So the pattern goes. If you do that for a little bit, maybe you'll start to kind of feel the relationship between those three hits. And then let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now feel how that snare drum is kind of telling the bass drum how to fall in a way. There's a little space, that space between the snare drum and the bass drum is really important because it really does add to the feel of the song. It keeps everything rolling. And of course, we're playing it at a lot slower speed than the 110 beats per minute that the song was recorded in on the album. But if we do this at a really slow tempo and start to really feel that relationship and the space between the double hits on the kick drum, the space between the snare drum and the bass drum, you start to kind of feel that falling on the 1 and the 3. Another thing about this groove of the song, put on your headphones and really focus in on the bass. Now, I believe the bass is playing what you would expect the bass to play in this song, the main riff. But the accents that I hear, especially when I'm not playing along and when I'm just listening, is it sounds like the bass is going ba 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 really clearly. And so when I'm playing this, that's fueling the stomping feeling that I'm playing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bom, bom, bom. That feeling, I keep going, that sound, that big feel of the bass, that's what kind of keeps me settled onto at the beginning of every measure, is that ba, ba, ba. Even though I'm playing double kick drums, da, 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 da. It's that da, da, da. What Bonham does sometimes in the live versions and in the recorded version is he doesn't play that second bass drum 16th note on the first beat. So rather than go, he's going. And that is a great thing to add in, especially when you're playing live and you feel like the song is starting to kind of rush forward a little bit. Just every now and then stomp it with that bass pattern that I was talking about. Bom, bom, bom. It really will settle you back. It'll settle you. And that's a really important thing about this song is that I know that I like to play it like How the West Was Won version, which is about 5 to 10 beats per minute faster than the album version. That's usually where I like to play it. It feels like just pushing and it's just a little more, especially live, it seems like you often play things just a touch faster anyway. I like it at that speed. It feels like it's really like a freight train. Okay, so that'll add a lot more stomp to the song. And it'll contribute to the feel and the rolling feel, the rolling nature, the rolling heaviness of this song. Now we come into the part where we're coming up to the big stop in the song. And Bonham starts really hitting the crashes on the ones. I want to say something about when Bonham crashes in this song. Coming out of the verse, the guitar and the bass start to get busier. We start to go into the transitional piece that's leading up into the abrupt stop. And I wanted to say something about practicing crashing. It seems like, all I got to do is hit the thing. But I notice sometimes inexperienced drummers, and I know that I was the same at the beginning of my playing. I didn't hit my bass drum and my crash together cleanly. And when you're able to do that, it really adds a punch. And so it sounds silly to do, but it might be worth practicing just for a while, going like this. See if you can get them just right together like that, because when Bonham hits those crashes, they're like a cannon. They're like a shot. And you want to get it like that, especially in Immigrant Song, because it's an aggressive song. So just a small thing to work out. Here's the transition part with the crashes and the stop. When we come back into the verse, we do a beat of a pause, and then we come back into the verse, and we crash again. When we come out of the stop, we wait a beat, and then we come in on that pickup note, the last 16th note of the measure, and we come in on the one. So it's really fun to practice coming in on the snare drum like that. It kind of leads everything into, it leads your body into the groove. Okay, so the end of the song, at the end of the final verse, Robert Plant's last word is losing. In the next downbeat, after he says losing, the guitar and the bass do an accent that John Bonham doesn't accent. However, 2 measures go by, and on the second measure, on the 4 of the second measure, John Bonham starts to accent with the guitar and the bass. Then 2 more measures go by, and on that second measure, the 4, he accents on that 4 again. 2 more measures, accenting on the 4 of that measure. And then he starts to accent on the 4 of every measure after, which is 8 measures. On the last measure, he's going to do his stop on the 3. So that's what this looks like. So that is Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song as recorded on Led Zeppelin 3. Thank you for watching. Here at the Zepparella Learning Channel, we aim to show you in teaching Led Zeppelin songs bigger musical takeaways that you can take to any of your musical endeavors. And in this video, the takeaway is intention. Intention of bass drum, intention of pickup note, intention of cymbal hit, intention. In the next video, I'm going to talk more about this groove, what I've learned about playing it live, and what I've learned from listening to John Bonham play it live, and all of the things that I add to the groove to create even more sonic power on stage. Thanks so much for watching.